This is where you go. Don't delay. Buy today. Get your crypto apparel today. Now, head on over to that search button, type in Future Self, and you can check out the newest and hottest, most exclusive crypto apparel out there. This is for the IoT crypto world. Do you want to look fresh deploying your Helium hotspots? Well, you can go ahead and get yourself some Future Self gear and look professional today. Actually, not professional, look fresh, look epic.
We describe as 5G, right? Like we need to like now describe it as like a capacity upgrade for 4G, which is sort of where, or for LTE, which is where it's ended up. And so the thing that's interesting is that we met these guys at a company called FreedomFi, and they were on this mission to like, how do we build like open source cellular networks? Right? That was their mission. Like we want to like democratize the building of cellular networks such that it's not owned by Huawei, Ericsson, Nokia, and these are the companies that own the infrastructure. Like when you look at a cell tower, the stuff that's on the cell tower is almost certainly owned by one of those three companies, right? Or manufactured by one of those three companies. And their view of the world is like there should be an open source like equivalent to that, right? Kind of like Linux was to like Windows Server back in those days.
Mm-hmm.
Now no one takes Windows Server seriously, but it's in those days it was serious, right? Like that was the thing that you used, and Linux kind of exploded it all. And so that was their view of the world, and they somehow discovered Helium. And I think they were like had an epiphany. Basically, they're like, shit. If we could incentivize people to like deploy cellular base stations the same way that Helium has encouraged people to deploy IoT base stations, build a fucking big network that way, right? And the thing that was smart about their approach is that they're not trying to compete with the carriers. Like they're really not trying to like put them out of business at all, right? Like they're basically saying we're going to build this network, this cellular network, and if you guys want to allow your handsets, right? Like you want to allow your customers to roam onto this network, then we'll make it super cheap for you to do that, right? So if you're, and I always use this example, right? Like if you go to an airport, right? If you go to LAX or SFO and you're on AT&T, it's going to look like you have 5 bars of AT&T service, right? Like that's how it looks. That's actually not what's happening, right? Like someone else runs the cell network inside LAX, and they sell that to AT&T, right? AT&T buys that from whoever runs it inside the airport. It's probably Boingo. And that's how it looks like. So you're roaming onto Boingo's network for AT&T. And so for you as a user, it looks seamless, right? You just happen to have 5 bars inside an airport. And so FreedomFi was like, we should do that, right? Like if we could deploy like hundreds of thousands of these like cellular gateways, then we could probably get carriers to pay us to like roam onto this what would become this like massive network. And so that's really the way that like a Wi-Fi access point is, right? Like and that's really the goal, right? Like a hotspot, I mean, like I have one here, right? Like it's it looks like that, right? It's small and it looks like a Wi-Fi access point, like stick it in your window. And that's kind of the goal for the 5G stuff, right? Like can you make it like that, right? So it's rather than, I mean, you've seen what like a cell tower looks like, right? There's like six to eight different antennas like circling around, and they try and disguise them as a tree or whatever. And it's like, can you make a smaller version of that so that people can stick it in their house? And I think that's doable, right? And I think the price can be reasonable. And then all of a sudden, you built this like enormous cellular network, right? And the question is like, what happens next, right? Will carriers start to use it for roaming, or will someone decide they're going to build their own carrier and use that network, right? And we don't know, and we don't really care either. We just think it's awesome that like someone's doing this, and that Helium is the network.
Always watching Cryptechology. I just want to say thank you for supporting my channel, and thank you for hitting that like button.